Ladies and gentlemen, you see, the most extraordinary truth is this: you are already magnetic to miracles, but you've been too distracted chasing them to notice. You are not here to beg the universe. You are not here to fix yourself into worthiness. You're here to remember what you've forgotten, that miracles are not rare. They are only unfamiliar to those who expect nothing but struggle. This speech is not about manifesting another wish. It's about awakening the version of you who no longer needs to wish, because they're already aligned with the wonder. So stay with me, not for empty promises, but for the revelation that could rearrange your entire experience of life. The idea that belief precedes reality is not just a poetic notion. It's the very foundation upon which our experience is built. You may think the world is shaped by what is real, but the deeper truth is far more subtle. What we believe becomes what we see. Reality as we know it bends itself around the convictions we hold most firmly. Imagine walking into a room believing you are invisible. Even if you're surrounded by people, you will shrink, withdraw, and confirm your own invisibility through every interaction, not because no one sees you, but because your belief filters how you interpret everything. A glance becomes a dismissal. Silence becomes rejection. You begin to live the reality you expected, even if it was never true to begin with. This is the unseen power of belief. It is the silent architect of the life you live. Now think about the opposite. Suppose you walk into that same room with the belief that you are magnetic to miracles, that something remarkable is always on its way to you. You carry a quiet confidence, not loud or forced, but calm and certain. You make eye contact. You smile with no agenda. You are not grasping for validation, because you already feel full. That energy is undeniable. If people notice, opportunities arrive. The very atmosphere around you begins to respond. Not because you've changed the world, but because you've changed how you meet it. Belief is a tuning fork. It sends out vibrations, and the world echoes back in harmony. But let's be clear, this is not some naive fantasy that if you just believe hard enough, you can ignore pain or leap over suffering. That's not the point. The point is that your belief decides whether your suffering has meaning or whether it becomes your identity. Belief determines whether you feel like a victim of life or a vessel of transformation. Two people can go through the same storm. One sinks, the other sails. Not because of different circumstances, but different beliefs about what those circumstances mean. When you believe you are magnetic to miracles, you're not just waiting for good things to happen. You are aligning yourself with the energy of openness, gratitude, and trust. You are no longer begging the universe for crumbs. You are acting as if abundance is natural, not rare. And that belief changes what you notice, what you attract, and what you're prepared to receive. Belief isn't a passive wish. It's an active force. It guides your choices. It filters your perception. It even changes the way your body responds, your tone of voice, your posture, your eyes. You begin to embody the very outcome you once only hoped for. And here's the paradox. When you believe it before you see it, you usually see it. But when you wait to believe, only after it arrives, it often never comes. That's because belief is not reactive. It's creative. And the mind loves consistency. It will do whatever it must to prove your belief system right. If you believe life is always against you, you'll find evidence to support that. If you believe you're unlucky, your mind will highlight every loss and minimize every win. But when you shift your inner dialogue to say, I am a magnet for miracles, the mind adapts. It looks for signs that support this new idea. It starts to treat surprise blessings not as accident, but as confirmation. And the more you see, the more you believe. And the more you believe, the more you see. It becomes a self-fulfilling spiral of experience. The universe is not withholding miracles. It is constantly responding to what you believe you're worthy of receiving. So when you adopt a belief that miracles are drawn to you, not because you're perfect, but because you're present, everything begins to change. Not always immediately, not always in the way you expect, but always in resonance with the energy you hold. The most important shift is internal. You no longer see yourself as someone hoping to be chosen. You walk as someone who has already been chosen. You are no longer trying to attract the miracle. You are recognizing that you are the miracle, and everything else flows from that awareness. And so, belief is not just the beginning of change, it is the change. It's not an extra step on the path to transformation. It's the very ground you walk on. If you want to see different outcomes, you must hold different beliefs. Because long before you touch the miracle, you must believe you're already touching the path that leads to it. The power of assumption is one of the most overlooked and misunderstood forces in life. People often believe that their external circumstances must first change in order for them to feel better, to trust more, or to feel safe. But that belief creates a prison, a reality where you're always waiting for something outside yourself to prove that you're worthy, ready, or fortunate enough. Yet in truth, the change you're waiting for begins the moment you assume it has already happened. Assumption is not about pretending or fooling yourself. It is about stepping into a state of being that aligns with the outcome you desire. When you assume something to be true, your thoughts, emotions, posture, language, and behavior all shift to match that truth. This inner alignment is what subtly and sometimes profoundly alters your outer world. When you act as if you are already magnetic to miracles, you begin to embody a calm confidence. You no longer ask, will it happen? Because you've already answered that within. It has happened. It is mine. It is unfolding now. That assumption changes how you approach life. You stop chasing and you start receiving. You stop doubting and you start noticing. You are no longer the desperate seeker. You are the anchored receiver. Assumption is the energy of certainty in the absence of proof. It is not arrogance. It is quiet inner knowing. And this knowing does not come from external evidence. It creates the evidence. Think of a child who imagines they're a superhero. The moment that child assumes that identity, their entire world changes. They walk differently, talk differently, believe in possibilities that previously seemed absurd. And though the costume may be imaginary, the transformation is very real. That's the power of assumption. And that same force, when applied consciously by an adult, has the power to remake your life. But most people are assuming the opposite of what they want. They assume they're unlucky. They assume they're being ignored. They assume things won't work out. And so, without knowing it, they live in alignment with lack, fear, and unworthiness. Every thought becomes a confirmation. Every setback becomes evidence. And they call it realism. but it is not reality they're experiencing. It's the result of their assumptions. When you shift your assumption to say good things are always finding me, something curious happens. Life begins to match that narrative. Not because magic is suddenly at play, but because your assumption has opened a door to new perception. You start to see what you once ignored. You start to act in ways that invite connection, creativity, and flow. You radiate a frequency that others respond to. Opportunities emerge, not by accident, but by resonance. This is why some people seem lucky. They have unconsciously assumed they are. They walk through life expecting things to work out, so they remain open when others shut down. They recover faster. They take more inspired risks. And slowly, the world shapes itself around their inner conviction. Assuming that miracles are natural is one of the boldest shifts you can make. It dismantles the belief that you have to struggle and suffer for every breakthrough. It unhooks you from the cycle of constant proving, and it returns you to the truth that you are a co-creator, not just a passive participant in this universe. To assume is not to deny difficulty. It is to meet difficulty with deeper trust. It is to say, this too is unfolding for something greater, even if I cannot see it now. That assumption becomes a compass, a stabilizer, a lifeline, and it keeps your energy elevated when your environment tries to drag you down. The power of assumption is not loud or dramatic. It doesn't need to be. It's the subtle, consistent way you hold yourself when no one's watching. It's the way you breathe through uncertainty, the way you speak about your life, the way you carry hope without begging for reassurance. When you begin to live as if the miracle is already on its way, you become the space for it to arrive. You don't panic, you don't force, you simply align. And in that alignment, the extraordinary becomes ordinary. Not because the world changed overnight, but because you did. Take this truth with you. Assumption is a creative force. What you assume to be true carves the path your life will follow. Assume you're magnetic to miracles, not someday, but now. Not conditionally, but naturally. Live from that place, breathe from that knowing, and let your world rearrange itself around your certainty. Because what you assume with conviction today becomes the reality you live tomorrow. You attract what you embody. Not what you wish for, not what you chase, and certainly not what you beg for, but what you truly are in your energy, your thoughts, and your state of being. This is the truth that operates quietly and consistently, whether you're aware of it or not. Every moment, you're sending a signal to the world, not with your words, but with your essence. And that signal shapes what flows into your life. People often wonder why they don't receive the things they desperately want. They affirm, they pray, they visualize. And yet, the miracle stays distant. The reason is simple. You cannot attract something that contradicts your current identity. You cannot receive peace while embodying chaos. You cannot attract love while carrying the frequency of fear. You cannot pull abundance into a mindset anchored in scarcity. The universe responds not to your desires, but to your state. To embody something means to become a living expression of it. When you embody peace, you don't just talk about calmness, you live it. When you embody confidence, you don't need external validation, You walk with a presence that speaks louder than words. And when you embody the energy of miracles, you begin to live in such a way that the extraordinary becomes expected. Not forced, not faked, but felt. This is not a matter of pretending. Pretending is superficial. It's like wearing a mask and hoping the world will believe you. But embodiment is internal. It's a quiet alignment that begins in your nervous system, in your breath, in the thoughts you choose to entertain, and in the emotions you allow yourself to sit with. It is subtle, yet powerful, because it reshapes how the world responds to you. The question is never just, what do you want to attract? The real question is, what are you currently embodying? Are you embodying the vibration of trust, openness, gratitude? Or are you embodying frustration, lack, and resistance? You may want miracles, but if you live in a constant state of doubt, you are pushing them away without knowing it, excluded by time, that a delay may err, and life is being honest and reduced, 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 and it gets colder, and it gets colder. But the good news is, this can shift instantly. You don't have to wait for external proof to change your internal state. You can choose to embody something new right now. You can begin to walk like someone who expects goodness. You can breathe like someone who trusts life. You can move through your day like someone who knows that unseen forces are already working in their favor. That's the doorway to magnetism. You attract what you are in the most subtle of ways. It's the tone of your voice, the energy in your silence, the way you speak to yourself when no one else is listening, the way you hold your dreams, not with fear of loss, but with reverence and faith. When you embody the energy of miracles, you start noticing little things that used to go unseen. You see signs, synchronicities, openings. People respond to you differently, not because they've changed, but because you have. You stop trying to force the path, and instead allow yourself to be guided. You start living in flow rather than friction. This is not about being perfect, it's about being present. Embodiment does not mean you never feel fear or sadness. It means you do not become them. You witness them and return to your center. The more often you return, the stronger that embodiment becomes. Eventually, your state becomes your natural home. And from that space, miracles are not something you chase. They become something you welcome. You can't fake energy. The world feels you before it hears you. And your vibration is the invitation you send out to life itself. If you walk as lack, life echoes lack. If you walk as gratitude, life responds in kind. If you walk as someone open to miracles, the miraculous begins to feel more and more ordinary. The practice is simple but powerful. Stop trying to attract and start embodying. You do not need to convince the universe. You need only to align with the version of yourself who already holds what you seek. And when you do, what you once chased will begin chasing you. Because in the end, it is not your effort that makes you magnetic. It is your embodiment. The present is the portal. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when everything falls into place. Now. This very moment, as ordinary as it may seem, is the doorway through which every miracle enters. But most people miss it. They're too busy living in the memory of yesterday or the anticipation of some imagined future, believing that salvation, clarity, or breakthrough will arrive later. Yet, Life doesn't happen later. It unfolds only in this timeless sliver of now, which is always available, but rarely fully embraced. We are taught to chase things across time, happiness, success, love, as if they exist somewhere far ahead of us. And because of that, we treat the present as just a waiting room, something to endure until what we want finally arrives. But that mindset creates a barrier. It places distance between you and the miracle. It keeps you suspended in the illusion of almost instead of the reality of already. The truth is, nothing new can enter your life until you become fully available to this moment. That's because this moment is not just a passing second. It's a living, breathing invitation. It holds the frequency of everything you've ever desired. But to access it, you must be here. Not partially, not mentally fragmented, but wholly present. Miracles are not rare. They are simply missed. They arrive in whispers, in quiet nudges, in chances you dismiss because you're looking too far ahead. But when you anchor into the now, you begin to notice the subtleties. You start to recognize how aligned everything already is, how supported you've been without realizing it. And in that recognition, your energy changes. Presence is not passive, it's profoundly powerful. When you are present, your mind is no longer recycling old fear or projecting imaginary outcomes. You're not trapped in anxiety or regret. You are simply aware. You are rooted, and in that stillness, a new dimension of experience opens up. You start to feel the perfection in the chaos, the rhythm beneath the noise. You begin to trust the unfolding rather than trying to control it. So often, people ask, when will my miracle come? And the answer is always, when you stop waiting for it. Not because time makes it arrive, but because presence reveals that it was always close, always circling your awareness, just waiting for permission to land. That permission is granted through attention, through stillness, through the humble act of being here. The future, no matter how beautiful your vision of it, is still just a concept. It lives in your mind, not in your body. The only place where transformation truly happens is right here, right now. That is where decisions are made. That is where old patterns dissolve. That is where new energies can enter. And that is where the miracle meets you. Not in a place, but in a state. This moment holds everything. It may not look how you expected, but it is the exact soil in which your next becoming takes root. Your only task is to return to it, again and again. Not with force, but with awareness. Not to fix it, but to feel it. To breathe it in, to listen to what it's offering. And when you do, something incredible happens. You begin to realize that you were never waiting for the miracle. The miracle was waiting for you. To stop running, to stop doubting, to stop postponing your joy. It was waiting for you to remember that the portal isn't opened by time or strategy. It opens the moment you arrive. Instead of asking, how do I attract more, ask, how present am I with what already is? Instead of reaching for something beyond, sink deeper into what's here. Because here is where the shift happens. Here is where the light breaks through. Here is where alignment becomes embodiment. The miracle is never ahead of you. It's always in you, waiting for the right conditions to be born. And those conditions are not created by striving. They are created by presence. Pause, breathe, listen. This is not just a moment. This is the portal. And everything you've ever hoped for is already on the other side, waiting for you to step through with open eyes and an open heart. Energy doesn't lie. Long before your words are spoken, your energy has already arrived. It communicates silently and powerfully through your presence, your posture, your stillness, and your very being. You might say all the right things, wear the right clothes, and follow all the right steps, but if the energy behind it doesn't match, nothing truly sticks. The world feels you far more deeply than it hears you. This is why transformation is not about changing what you do first. It's about changing who you are while doing it. You can repeat affirmations every morning, but if the vibration in your body still holds fear or lack, your results will echo that. You can visualize abundance, but if you carry the subtle belief that you're not worthy, the energy you emit will contradict the picture in your mind. Everything starts with energy. It's the blueprint of your life. And the most remarkable thing is, you're broadcasting it constantly. Every moment, whether consciously or not, you're telling the universe what you're available for. Not through your words, but through the frequency you are holding. Think about how you feel when you're around someone who is calm, grounded, and centered. They don't even have to speak. You feel safe. You feel something you can't explain, but it resonates. Now think about someone who is anxious, desperate, or bitter. Even if they smile, even if they're polite, something in you tightens. That's energy at work. It bypasses logic. It doesn't wait for permission. It speaks soul to soul. Our energy reveals your truth, even if they can't explain why. This is not because they're judging you. It's because energy carries information, and we are wired to feel that information, even if we don't always know what to call it. If you want to attract miracles, success, peace, or love, it's not about just setting intentions. It's about becoming the embodiment of what you wish to receive. The frequency must match. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. This is why healing matters, because unhealed energy leaks. If your wounds still whisper that you're not enough, that life is hard, that nothing ever works out for you, then that frequency becomes your signal. And the universe, always listening, reflects that signal back through your experiences. But when you begin to shift your energy, everything else starts to move. You may not need to change the entire world, just change how you meet the world. And your energy does the work for you. It draws in aligned people. It repels what no longer fits. It creates momentum where there once was stagnation. And often, this all happens without struggle, because energy doesn't strive, it resonates. How do you change your energy? You begin by becoming aware of it, not judging it, but noticing it. What is the feeling tone beneath your actions? Are you operating from trust or tension? Are you creating from inspiration or desperation? Just this awareness starts to shift things. Because once you see the frequency, you can choose whether or not you want to keep broadcasting it. Then you practice presence. Presence anchors you in a calm, clear state. When you are truly present, you're no longer trapped in anxious loops or old stories. You are simply here. And from here you have access to higher frequencies. Peace, gratitude, love, faith. These energies lift you. They elevate your baseline. And slowly, they become your natural state. Your energy doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be aligned. It's congruent. It's clean. And when your energy is clean, life flows differently. You find yourself in the right places at the right time. You speak with clarity. You make decisions that align with your highest good, not because you forced it, but because you matched it. Energy is the real language of the universe. And when yours speaks with truth, openness, and calm certainty, the world responds. Not because you shouted the loudest, but because your signal was clear. Tend to your energy like it's sacred, because it is. It is the doorway through which every miracle walks. Not someday, but now. Faith is not the absence of fear. It is the quiet decision to keep walking despite fear's presence. It is the soft but unshakable belief that even when you can't see the path, one is there. That even when you feel lost, you are still being guided, and that even when things don't look like they're working out, something greater is unfolding behind the scenes. Most people think of faith as a grand, blinding certainty, a mountain that never moves. But in reality, faith often begins as a whisper. It's the moment you choose to breathe and take one small step forward, when every voice in your head tells you to turn back. It's not loud, it's not showy. It's a quiet alignment with something unseen but deeply felt. And that alignment, when practiced consistently, becomes your foundation. In a world that worships evidence, faith can feel irrational. But that's the point. Faith exists before the evidence. It plants the seed before it sees the tree. It acts from knowing, not needing proof. And that's where its power lies. Because faith rearranges reality. It opens doors that logic had locked. It invites miracles that planning couldn't predict. It's a sacred defiance of limitation. When you move with faith, your energy shifts. You're no longer reacting to what is. You're responding to what you believe is possible. You start to act like the person who has already received the blessing. You speak as if the answer has already been given, and life, in its infinite intelligence, responds to that conviction. Faith is not naive. It's not about denying your struggles or pretending you're not hurting. It's about seeing the pain and choosing to trust anyway. It's about standing in the storm and knowing the sun is still above the clouds. You may not feel it, you may not see it, but you trust it's there. And that trust changes how you endure. Faith doesn't always feel good. Sometimes it feels like walking blindfolded through fire. But even then, there's a deeper voice saying, keep going. Something is waiting. That voice may be small, but it's persistent. And the more you listen to it, the louder it becomes. Eventually it becomes your guide. There will be moments when your mind will scream for certainty. when your fear will demand a map, a sign, a guarantee. But faith gives you none of those things. Instead, it gives you something better, strength from within, not borrowed from others, but built through every step you take without knowing exactly where it leads. Faith is what lets you rest in the unknown, to live in a space where logic ends and miracles begin, to allow life to surprise you, not just with what you wanted, but with what you didn't even know you needed. That space is sacred. It's where transformation happens, not because you controlled the process, but because you surrendered to it. Surrender is not weakness. It's not giving up. It's letting go of the illusion that you have to force everything into place. Faith allows you to release your grip and trust that there's a rhythm carrying you, even when you don't understand the beat. It teaches you to stop asking, how will this work, and start saying, show me the way. And the moment you stop resisting, the moment you soften into trust, life meets you. Ideas come, people arrive, opportunities appear, not because you begged for them, but because you aligned with the energy that welcomes them. That is what faith does. It doesn't wait for the right conditions. It creates them. When you act from faith, you build a bridge between the seen and unseen. You live in a world others can't always perceive. You don't need to explain it, you just live it. And over time, the results speak louder than any argument. When doubt creeps in, as it will, return to that quiet place inside you, the part that has always known, the part that whispers, you're not alone. Keep walking. It's already happening. Listen to that voice. Water it. Trust it. Because faith isn't just something you have, it's something you become. And when you live as faith, you move in harmony with something far bigger than your fear. You walk through the unknown, not with trembling, but with grace. Not because the road is clear, but because you know the destination is already yours. Gratitude isn't just a feeling, it's a frequency. A living, vibrating energy that reshapes the lens through which you see the world. When you start to tune into gratitude, you don't just say thank you for what you have. You begin to see differently. You realize that nothing is ordinary, that even the smallest details carry weight, meaning, and magic. And in that shift of perception, your entire reality begins to reorganize. Most people think they'll be grateful once the miracle arrives, once they have the love, the money, the success, the peace. But that's not how it works. Gratitude is not the result of miracles, it's the starting point. It is the invitation, the open door, the magnetic pull. The more you honor what you already have, the more space you create for new blessings to flow in. Think about it. Have you ever given something to someone who truly appreciated it? Didn't it make you want to give more? Their energy of appreciation was so expansive, so uplifting, that it created a ripple. Gratitude works the same way with the universe. When you become deeply present and thankful for what already is, you emit a signal that says, I see the value. I receive this fully. I'm ready for more. And life, sensing that fullness, sends more. On the other hand, when you focus on what's missing, what's not working, what hasn't shown up, you send the opposite signal. You tell the universe, this isn't enough. And in doing so, you subtly close the door to further abundance. because your energy is rooted in lack. And lack, like gratitude, is also a frequency. One draws in miracles, the other delays them. Gratitude is not just for the big moments. It's a daily practice of noticing the seemingly small things that make life livable, beautiful, even miraculous. The way sunlight spills through a window, the sound of laughter in another room, the way your heart still beats, your breath still flows, even on your hardest days. These are not coincidences. They are reminders that life is still offering itself to you, moment by moment. To live in gratitude is to move from a space of enoughness. And from that space, miracles don't feel impossible, they feel natural. Because you're not grasping or begging, you're receiving. Gratitude aligns you with receptivity. It softens your defenses. It calms your nervous system. It tells life, I trust you, even if I don't understand everything yet. I trust that there is meaning here. I trust that I am supported. And that trust is what creates the shift. You no longer wake up feeling like life owes you something. You wake up knowing that life has already given you so much, and that your awareness of those gifts is what multiplies them. The more you notice, the more there is to notice. The more you appreciate, the more there is to appreciate. Gratitude becomes a kind of magic, but it's not magic in the sense of fantasy. It's magic in the sense of alignment. You begin to see how connected everything really is. How one moment of true appreciation can lift you out of anxiety. How saying thank you in the midst of uncertainty can change your chemistry. How recognizing beauty in what you once overlooked can realign your entire energy. You become more available to life. And that availability is what makes you magnetic, not in a loud, desperate way, but in a quiet, grounded, certain way. People feel it. Opportunities find it. Miracles respond to it. Gratitude does not ask for perfection, it simply asks for attention. And when you give it, when you start to notice what's already working, you begin to feel supported by something far bigger than you. You start to feel that maybe you've been guided all along, that even the detours had purpose, that maybe the miracle has already started. It just needed your awareness to fully bloom. So don't wait until everything is perfect to be grateful. Be grateful, and you'll start to see perfection in things exactly as they are. And from that state of presence and appreciation, the doors to more will open without you having to push. Because you're no longer chasing miracles. You've become the kind of person they're drawn to. Imagination is not a child's escape from reality. It is the architect of it. What you imagine consistently becomes the blueprint for what you experience. The mind doesn't just reflect reality, it shapes it. Your thoughts, images, and inner stories are not meaningless flickers passing through consciousness. They are seeds. And whatever you water with your attention, your belief, and your emotion begins to grow into form. Most people use imagination unconsciously, allowing it to be hijacked by fear, worry, and limitation. They picture everything going wrong, everyone rejecting them, life disappointing them, and then they wonder why those exact feelings color their days. But this is not imagination's fault. It's the user who's forgotten its power, because when you truly understand that the mind is creative, not passive, you become aware that every mental image carries consequence. To imagine with intention is to begin the creation process from within. It's not pretending or daydreaming without grounding. It's tuning into a higher frequency where what you desire already exists. Your mind doesn't know the difference between what's vividly imagined and what's real in the physical. That's why athletes visualize winning before they perform. That's why healers see the body whole before it's restored. It's why visionaries live as if their dreams have already come true, because in their energy field they already have. When you imagine something with clarity, emotion, and repetition, you begin to rewire your nervous system. You recondition your responses. You start to live from the inside out. And the universe responds not to your wishes or your words, but to the frequency you're holding. The more real it feels to you, the more real it begins to become. This is why it's so important to choose your images wisely, not in a fearful, perfectionistic way, but with awareness. What are you rehearsing in your mind every day? What pictures are you painting again and again without realizing? Are you feeding visions of expansion, peace, and possibility? Or are you replaying old fears that no longer serve who? To activate your magnetism to miracles, you must begin within. You must close your eyes and see it, whatever it is you long for. Not vaguely, not once, but consistently and with presence. See the version of you who already lives the life you're calling in. Watch how they move, how they speak, how they carry themselves. Let that image be so clear, so vivid, that your body begins to feel it as real. Because the body doesn't wait for circumstances to change before it responds to your state. And your state can be shifted through imagination. You can sit in a silent room, breathe deeply, and begin to feel confidence, gratitude, joy, success, before any of it has appeared on the outside. That's the beauty of inner work. You don't need permission to begin. You don't need anyone to agree with you. You just need to choose the image and keep returning to it. This is not delusion, this is mastery. It's the same principle that turns thought into invention, vision into empire, belief into healing. What you can hold in your mind, you can hold in your hand. If you're willing to embody it before it arrives. Imagination is a sacred tool, and most people use it casually, even destructively. But once you understand its role in manifestation, you start to treat it with reverence. You curate what enters your mind. You start to feed it images that uplift, expand, and empower you. You begin to use your inner screen as a rehearsal space for the reality you are building. And over time, as your inner world becomes more aligned, your outer world begins to shift to match it. You'll notice synchronicities, small confirmations that you're on the right track. You'll feel more intuitive nudges. You'll find yourself in the right places at the right time, not because you forced it, but because you imagined it clearly enough for the energy to start aligning. Miracles are not random. They are born from alignment of belief, of thought, of emotion, of vision. And imagination is the key that unlocks all of that. It is the first place where the impossible becomes possible. The first place where you allow yourself to live in the future you're creating. And the more you visit that place, the more familiar it becomes, until one day it's not just imagination anymore. It's your life. You don't chase miracles, you align with them. This is perhaps one of the greatest shifts a person can make. from striving to allowing, from grasping to attracting. Because the moment you stop running after what you want and instead begin to embody the version of you that already has it, life begins to move in a different rhythm, a quieter, deeper rhythm, one that's in harmony with who you really are. There is an energy that comes with chasing, an undertone of lack, of restlessness, of not yet enough. Even when the intention seems pure, the energy behind it can create resistance. It says, I don't yet have what I need. I must hustle harder, search further, push more. And this vibration, although it may generate effort, doesn't always generate results. Or if it does, they come with exhaustion, imbalance, or short-lived satisfaction. Alignment, on the other hand, is about matching the frequency of what you desire. Instead of chasing love, you become the kind of person who radiates love effortlessly. Instead of pursuing abundance, you begin to live as if abundance already lives within you. Your thoughts, actions, and decisions start to reflect a person who is already in relationship with the thing they once longed for. You move from lack to sufficiency, from craving to creating, from hoping to knowing. When you are in alignment, you no longer have to manipulate circumstances to get what you want. You stop trying to control timing, outcomes, and other people. Instead, you focus on the only thing you can control, your energy. And as that energy shifts, so does the world around you. Because life doesn't give you what you beg for, it gives you what you're a vibrational match to. This is not passivity. Alignment is not about sitting still and waiting for the universe to hand you miracles. It's about becoming the kind of person who naturally attracts them. That means you still take action, but the action flows from clarity, trust. You're an action born from anxiety and action born from alignment. One drains you, the other energizes you. Think about a time in your life when things just clicked, when the right opportunity showed up unexpectedly, when you met someone at the perfect moment, when you followed an intuitive nudge and it led you exactly where you needed to be. That wasn't luck. That was alignment. That was the result of your inner world syncing up with the outer world in just the right way. And the more you live from that place, the less you need to force anything. The truth is, miracles are not outside of you. They are drawn to the version of you that is already whole, already grateful, already open. The more you trust your path, the more you soften into presence, the more life responds. You start to see signs, feel guidance, experience peace, even in uncertainty. Because now you're not moving from a place of something is missing. You're moving from I already have what I need within me. And that changes everything. When you stop chasing, you free up energy. You become magnetic. You become calm in your vision, firm in your belief, and steady in your actions. You are no longer trying to grab what's out there. You are calling it in. And the things meant for you don't need to be chased. They will find their way to you when you are aligned to receive them. This isn't just spiritual talk, it's energetic law. Frequency responds to frequency. And the frequency of miracles is not chaos, neediness, or noise. It is stillness, receptivity, trust, wholeness. When you embody those qualities, not once, but as a lifestyle, you become a living invitation for the miraculous. Stop chasing, breathe, return to yourself. Trust that who you are is enough. Know that everything you're seeking is also seeking you, but it cannot find you when you're hiding in restlessness and doubt. Let your energy do the calling. Let your presence do the work. Because the moment you stop grasping is the moment your hands become open to receive, and in that space of openness, life flows, not because you forced it, but because you finally matched it. The power to experience miracles has never been outside of you. It has always lived within, not in some distant future, but in this very moment, waiting for you to remember. When you act as if you are magnetic to miracles, you are not faking it. You are aligning with a truth deeper than logic. You are choosing to embody belief before the evidence arrives. You are training your nervous system to expect the extraordinary, to celebrate what is, and to allow what's coming without resistance. This isn't about fantasy or blind optimism. It's about stepping into a state of being where your thoughts, emotions, and actions harmonize with the reality you desire. You no longer chase, you become. You no longer beg, you believe. If you live in gratitude, you think in possibility, you act in faith, and in doing so, you create a field around you that draws in the very things your soul has been asking for. Miracles are not reserved for the special or the chosen. They are the natural outcome of alignment, presence, and trust. And the moment you realize you are already enough, already worthy, already connected to something far greater than your fear, that is the moment you stop hoping for miracles and start welcoming them. Walk forward now, not as someone waiting for magic, but as someone who carries it, as if life is already unfolding in your favor. Because when you live in that energy, the universe has no choice but to meet you there.